My name is Marc Monar. I'm a strategic consultant at Hype. I've spent the last 7 years now in the innovation management space, working with companies on embedding sustainable collaborative innovation programs. My focus lies on idea campaign and community management, and in the past I've run question writing workshops with several customers, and I found that it is a challenging task to almost every company. So this will be the topic for today, and yeah, I will start off with examples. So we have this large European bank that was suffering from eroding market shares. And, the executives decided to get input from all their employees on ways how to improve and grow the business. So what did they do? They collected the ideas from their employees and installed or implemented an enterprise-wide suggestion box, electronic suggestion box, which should help them tap into these previously undiscovered innovations. And what happens afterwards was they received thousands of ideas, so thousands of their employees engaged. There was a high engagement, and everybody thought, wow, this is great. We're receiving all these ideas. We got all this attention from across the company, and we're getting all this input. This is great. But imagine several thousands of engaged employees, and they all have thought about how they can help and submitted their ideas, and all these ideas would then have to be assessed. And in this case, they were also assessed and voted and prioritized by evaluators. And what was the result? Well, most of the ideas were of low quality. It was a poor outcome of this whole initiative. So either those ideas were not new or unlikely to show any positive ROI, and in the end, just 2 of the thousands of ideas, just 2 got implemented. And well, in the end, this whole program was deemed a huge failure, and there of course were consequences, right? So after 18 months or 1.5 years, the whole innovation program was shut down, not just this initiative. And well, all the people associated with it, they got fired. So what do we learn from this example? Well, one does not simply walk into Monar or ask for ideas. And asking for ideas is usually not a good idea. It's even a bad idea. You create a lot of noise and waste a lot of resources. Think of all the people that you engaged. Think of the evaluators that have to dig through all the ideas and all the work that was done here, but in the end there was just little outcome. So too many ideas need to be assessed and voted and prioritized, and therefore we have 2 learnings here. The efficiency is vital. Efficiency is vital because, yeah, in this example, the innovation team got fired, the program was shut down. So, and the next learning is we definitely do not want to have a lot of quality. This alone does not mean anything, but we're looking for quantity. Quality is better than quantity. So we're looking for quality content, but not the quantity content. And of course, even if you do find a good suggestion, I'm not saying that these open suggestion boxes might not get to something interesting, but even when you do find a good suggestion, the amount of effort required after this to find the right people to implement these ideas, it can be significant. And what I've heard in the past from a lot of companies I've been working with was these innovation teams, they kind of have a fear that if they don't offer this open channel, they will miss out on some great ideas, because they don't just offer this place where ideas can be dropped off. And I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying you will never find good ideas with going down this path. The point is, it's just not an efficient way. It's just not an efficient way to get quality content consistently. And usually companies do not have an infinite amount of resources, time, or money. So this is what we learned from this example. So I have another example from you. It's from a US IT company. And they were thinking, okay, we have some internal business needs and challenges that we want to tackle. And on the other hand, we have this new, recently integrated online collaboration tool. So they asked their people, their employees, on which topics they should run this new tool on to get ideas, right? And what we received were hundreds of ideas, not thousands, but hundreds, and also comments. And there were some valuable suggestions here. And everyone at that stage was quite happy. Well, looking forward to make a difference and move things forward, and great, now we know about the business needs and challenges that we can tackle. And what happened then? Well, in the end, it was a good outcome, right? There was some valuable content, but the team struggled massively to pass on these suggestions inside the business. There was practically no one who wanted to be in charge to pick the things up. So either managers felt, well, it does not belong to my field of work, but also to others, or it would use up too much of their time. Some others felt it should be simply moved up in hierarchy as their resources were already planned or not available. And this list of refusings, it goes on. And the received input was not picked up and therefore never really used. So thousands of employees who took their time and energy to contribute here were disappointed and in the future disengaged from these activities. So again, what do we learn from this year? Well, all the ideas, and we had some valuable content in there, they had no organizational hope. There wasn't just no strategy for going after them, going after them. So it was kind of doing the things upside down. So it's not a good idea to ask for things that you then need to transfer into the organization without having sponsorship. So who we see here is Vito Corleone, and he would say, okay, I have a challenge, and I have a business need, and I need things to be done. And of course he has the power and the money to get things going, but not the other way around. So it's a lot easier to start from the other end and ask a sponsor for his business need or his business challenge. And this is just because he's not, well, because he not only has the interest to get this need then solved, but also the power and the money to make things happen when good ideas were created. So a question needs an organizational home, and always start with the sponsor first and then go after the sponsor's challenges or business needs. And I share another example with you. So at Houston Airport, they did a study, and they found across all the travelers that were using their airport, and they found that the biggest complaint among these travelers were that the amount of time they had to wait for their bags, it was just so long. It was annoying the people that they were waiting in the baggage claim, and maybe you had the same experience in the past. So what they did was some time and motion studies, and they found that on average there's about 8 minutes for the bags to get from the plane to the baggage claim, which is 8 minutes. Sounds fine to me. Maybe you have waited even longer as me, but 8 minutes doesn't sound too bad, but in the end this was the biggest complaint, and in the end people were not happy with waiting these 8 minutes. So the question to solve this problem was okay, how do we speed up the baggage claim process? And well, what they found is, okay, it's all incoming suggestion on speeding up the processes. They're either too expensive, all these suggestions, or too time consuming. maybe too difficult. The processes were already working very, very efficiently, but still there's these 8 minutes. We don't know where to start here, and it's all running into nowhere. And what they then did was, okay, maybe we have to go back. Maybe we have to go back, and maybe we framed the problem in the wrong way. So they felt they were maybe a little bit too quick here, and they took a step back and looked at the problem again. And what they finally found is, okay, we need to find a way that travelers arrive at the baggage claim together with their baggage. And how do we do that? And just by reframing this problem away from how do we speed up the baggage claim process towards, okay, we need to find a way that travelers arrive at the baggage claim together with their baggage, the solutions that then came in were a lot easier and a lot easier to find. And instead of speeding up this whole baggage claim process, they said, okay, we could slow down the traveler. What they did was reconfigure the airport so it now takes the same amount of time for the passenger to reach the baggage claim as it takes their bags to get there, which is of course not a saver of time, but the people afterwards, they had satisfaction surveys afterwards, and the people felt that it was okay, because people do not notice the pain of waiting, or they do notice the pain of waiting, but they do not notice the pain of the walk. And they were happy. So what do we learn from this example? Here's Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones is digging deeper. He's going the extra mile, and what we learn from that is we really have to explore the problem first. And before we start and write a good question and ask the question, put the question out, we recommend to explore the problem first and take a closer look, dig a little bit deeper, and then start to look for solutions. It seems to be part of our nature, and well, nowadays we always talk about this as accelerated business life, and we literally jump right into problem solving. Everybody does, and this is part of our nature, I guess, but or today's nature. And everybody heard the following in one or the other way: don't bring the problems, bring the solutions, and this is part of the whole problem. So what happens is we often end up not having solved the problem, but we're having spent time and resources on creating solutions, and that might be now irrelevant. So the way we ask a question might limit the ability to find desirable or innovative solution. So before you go out and ask a question and involve all the other people, explore the problem. And the other thing that we learned from this example is the way we ask may limit the solution space. So when we ask, okay, let's speed up the baggage claim process, we're only thinking of solutions that fulfill this need. And when we reframe the problem, solutions and the fitting solutions are way easier to find, and opens up our creativity there. Because this is such an important part of the whole question writing, I want to share another example with you, which goes back to the same roots. There was a consumer goods company, and they wanted to develop a new kind of toothpaste. And this toothpaste should whiten teeth without using the traditional methods, meaning bleaches or abrasives. And the question they were asking was, okay, we need this new product, right? And it needs to be without bleaches and abrasives. And how do we, as dental experts, create such a toothpaste that whitens teeth? Everybody wants to have white teeth, but without abrasives, bleaches. And what happened was, okay, the local expertise, the toothpaste experts, they found it hard not to crack, and they didn't have a solution. What they did, again, after some time, after asking the question, they reframed the problem. So they were not asking, okay, how do we create a toothpaste that whitens teeth? But who else makes whites whiter? And they found, okay, we have some people in the detergent business unit, and they make laundry detergents that whiten clothes without bleach. And they were told, and they were totally surprised, okay, we don't make whites whiter. Here in the laundry business unit or detergent business unit, we don't make whites whiter, we make whites bluer. And okay, they learned that they were using a blue agent to make whites appear whiter. And in the end, they sold toothpaste with a blue dye that creates an immediate optical illusion of white teeth. So again, maybe you remember the movie with the Dead Post. So the teacher Keating demonstrates how important a change of perspectives sometimes is and encourages his class to step on his desk just to gain a new perspective. And of course, people would refuse and say, oh, okay, I'm not doing that. And if so, I will just do it quickly, and then he got his will, and I'm taking off again. But he then tells them not just to walk off the edge like lemmings, but to take a look, to take the time and take a look around. So it's all about changing the perspective, reframing the problem, look at it another way, to be able to then write a better question. So 2 learnings from this: we should invest time and effort to improve our understanding of the problem and then refine it, to ask a better question to make it easier. And we need to, well, again, the way we ask limits the solution space. The toothpaste experts did not or could not come up with a good solution. But they had to open it up. They had to look at it a different way, reframe the problem and reframe the question. And if you ask the better questions, then you can get the better answers. And there's different techniques, and we will get to that later on, how you can reframe a problem. And I will show you later on. Okay, so here is another example from a company that produces fruit beverages, and they wanted to adapt to new trends in the market because people nowadays, they look for beverages that have less calories, they drink less than they used to, and in the past, they drink less than they used to in the past, but therefore prefer higher quality, and so on and so on. So the market conditions changed, and they tried to collect consumer suggestions. So what they to adapt to this, to these new trends, and they opened up an online channel or an online community that described the background, why they were reaching out to them, that described the rules, and that described the process and the prizes to win. And they of course asked them a set of questions. So these are just some questions I present to you, and maybe you take the time and read through them very quickly. And what you will then see is, okay, ask yourself how you would have, well, effectively assess these different ideas. Do you even understand what is expected from you? Well, the problem was with this, you get totally different types of ideas. And in general, you do not get a lot because people felt, okay, this is not concrete. I don't know exactly how I should answer this. I know kind of know what they want from me, but in the end, I do not really know what to contribute here. So what happened is a tough evaluation of the not high number of ideas, because they were just so different, because they asked a set of questions that were all very different, and they needed to evaluate these ideas that were then coming up all differently. And Again, what do we learn from that? And it was not a success. It was just too little, and it was just not valuable because people didn't know where to go. And imagine Chekhov asking Captain Kirk, "Okay, course heading, Captain, where are we going?" And this is a quite common scenario. People like to ask, okay, where should our business operate in the year 2030, or how can we increase revenue, or how do we improve productivity, and maybe even how might we become more competitive. And like in this example that I showed you before, is ideas are typically all over the board. Employees assume maybe also conflicting definitions of what more competitive means. And they find it either too hard to answer because they're lost in translation, and they're missing a concrete question that they can relate to. They may not understand what you want or expect from them, and the question is just too broad and too abstract that they could come up with a good idea. So these are all examples like how can we increase revenue, how do we improve productivity. These are all rather big goals, and posing this type of question usually results in fluffy solutions. And instead of asking the people to solve these broad problems, it's better to be specific. It's better to be specific. That means instead of, for example, how can we increase revenue, you could ask, are there specific markets that you have not yet penetrated? This is a different question relating to the same problem. Or, for example, instead of how do we improve productivity, you could ask, how do we make your jobs easier? Again, totally different question, more easy to answer, but it relates to the same problem. And people could relate to this more easily, and you get better content. So people need sufficient direction to come up with quality ideas. Otherwise, people do not know what to do. And Chekhov expects the course from Captain Kirk, and you give the course with specifying the question. I'm going to share with you another example of an international operating energy company. And they asked their people, and it was a rather aged workforce. Most of them were born during the baby boomers, and they were looking forward to the upcoming years because they would retire very soon. So they had this massive amount of employees that would retire more or less at the same time in the upcoming years. And they were asking their people the question, how does the next generation of power plants look like? And they got almost no engagement. They had almost no people that contributed to this question. And what was that? Well, nothing was achieved, and nothing was achieved in the end, right? Because if you don't get contributions, nothing gets achieved. So what was the problem? People felt, okay, we don't see how this is relevant to me. We're going to retire very soon, and we have little personal connection to this business need right now, and because all the development of a new generation of power plants, it takes several years, and I will not play a role in this, and I won't be working by then. And in the end, well, it was just not worth to ask the question. So what happened here? Well, no connection to need, and this is also the learnings. Ideally, you can combine that Kermit doesn't show up and say, okay, but that's none of my business. So ideally, or not ideally, but relevancy of the topic or the question to the audience that you bring this question out to, relevancy is crucial. So people ideally relate on a personal level to your question. For example, with the sponsor, they trust him to get the things done. They trust Don Corleone, and they want to help out. And with the topic, with the topic of the question. For example, it improves their day job. And people can see a direct relationship to the organizational level. This helps as well. So ideally, it's a combination of these things: personal on a personal level, relationship on a personal level, and also on the organizational level. And the question is not about flying to Mars, but it's about your business objectives. So otherwise, people will shut their doors and transform into these hermits here on the picture, and they take a sip of their tea because, yeah, this is just a better use of their time. So this is the second learning here: personal connection and always connection to business objectives. Next example, a little bit quicker. There's a professional services company, very, very big, and they were asking a question. Well, it's not only as in the examples up to this point, it's usually not only finding this catchy and precise one-phrase question, but it's what we also usually need is to put it a little bit into context so the audience can make this connection we just talked about. So we also want to explain the next steps, for example, to be transparent and set the expectations and so on. So as we will see later on, this additional information is important, and it is the reason why we call questions consist of more than a sentence. I will share with you on the upcoming slide an example from this large professional services company, and on purpose I won't give you any more detail to this example. Feel free to have a quick read here, and I will come back to you in a couple of seconds. Okay. I have a question for you. Spot the question mark. Yes, I don't see any too. So this is actually, well, the text goes on a little. This is why the three dots are to see there. But there was literally no question mark in this question. And the outcome was people did not engage because they did not read it, or maybe they stopped to read, or forgot about the question. And the question sounds, I don't know how much you read of it, or when you stopped, or if you read it all, but the question sounds very polished, not really authentic. Could be also that what we often see is it's too much tech jargon, or the question as such is just boring or lame, and the audience is not motivated to contribute. So it's a little bit like this here. I'm passionate to hear your ideas, and this comes from a robot. So it's more or less maybe a faceless team. There's no authenticity in here. So yeah, people are likely not to contribute. And what do we learn from this? So to trigger engagement, also ask a question. There was no question in here, and sometimes this gets forgotten. As funny as it sounds, but sometimes there is actually not a question within the question. And people are just unlikely to act upon requests that come from these faceless teams. So this is very unclear. Where's the question coming from? What will happen after this? So there's a couple of things here missing, and this is why this was not a success. And the last example I will share with you today is about a big company that looks almost like this. So again, I need to black some things out, but again, I do not want to ask you to read through this, but what we see from here is, okay, it's much text and it goes on, so maybe it's way too long. I didn't read it. At least we're a little bit ashamed. This is how this guy feels. And what I say is it's good to have these background information on your question. They help people, and they also help the people, or especially help the people that would like to read a little bit more on the topic. And we're all different, right? So some of us just like to read a catchy title or a short question. Other ones just read very quickly through it and then go after contributing, and some others require to read a lot more before they do anything. And of course you can and you should offer these additional information, but this is not your first job when you need to write a good question. This is job number, I don't know, 50 on your list. So this question is just too long, and this intuition that this long question is just not good because people do not read it. It's also backed by multiple studies saying that longer messages impose a greater cost on readers, and this is reducing the chances that it will be even read or then responded to. Okay, so two learnings again: questions that require too much reading get swiped away. People have day jobs, right? So, and the other thing is offer additional background information. This is good, but as an optional attachment to the question. So bottom line, all these examples that we just went through, they have one thing in common. And this means the best tool to find better solution is to ask better questions. And to find the right questions, it is crucial to ask the community and run an effective campaign, because this question will set the tone and provide the framework for ideation. And my colleague Hutch Carpenter, he wrote a blog post on this topic on our homepage, and I like the way he names it. And he says, the problem that is tried to be solved is just not well put. And this is just, yeah, giving it another name. So it's not about the grammar of the question, but it's the fundamentals of what is asked and how it is asked. And why is it so hard to ask the right questions? Well, from my experience, it is because every question is different. The program maturities are different. The sponsors are different. The company cultures are different. And yeah, the audiences are different, and the list goes on. So what I share next is a way to tackle this. And it might sound simple. It might sound simple, but in the end, question writing remains not a simple task. So let's move into this, this little framework that I want to share with you. And the first thing that I want to show you is what we learned is we have to create an organizational home, right? So this organizational home is, this organizational home is this. We have the strategic innovation areas. That is the corporate agenda. It's the strategic focus, or the hunting, or what you also would call the hunting grounds. It's on an abstract level, what do we want to do? What does the company want to do? And then inside, or inside this container, we have campaigns that are concrete topics, and they fall into this category, and they help to reach these goals, or these strategic innovation area goals. And in the end, we have ideas answering these concrete questions from the strategic innovation area. And I know that this this way of displaying it is maybe a little bit easier for some of you to understand the connections between a strategic innovation area, a campaign, and an idea. And we can also use this way to display it. And sometimes there's this relationship that we need to, or we can also see here. So, sorry again. These three campaigns belong in here, and all these ideas could belong into one of these campaigns. So with this campaign approach, you can begin to think strategically about your efforts. And you define the hunting grounds where you want to find ideas, then map out a series of campaigns, and then you tackle these areas. So use idea campaigns, because most innovation efforts are ineffective, are unfocused. The things I was sharing with you, they're not uncommon to put out just a Dropbox, it's not uncommon. This is actually what the most successful or the top 1,000 companies in the world do. 60% do not have a process, a systemized idea collection process or idea generation process. And this is surprising, but on the other hand, there's lots of way for improvement. So use these idea campaigns, and they consist of 4, I'd say, characteristics here. On the one hand, we heard of this, we heard of this Corleone example, and this is exactly it. We need it to be sponsor-led, and this is what the AD campaigns do. We have a sponsor, every challenge has a home, someone wants a problem solved, and therefore we recommend to assign the owner with resources up front. And then, when you have that, it ensures that when you get the solution, you can move things forward quickly. Also, idea campaigns, they're time limited. It's just to drive the participation, and people tend to react more if they have deadlines. The next thing is, okay, you're putting out this business need, this question to an audience, so you need people that help you. And sometimes it's just a specialized group, and sometimes it's, depending upon the question, it's maybe a cross-divisional group, and maybe sometimes it's all of your employees. So depending upon your topic, your business need, you select an audience that helps you to reach the goals. And by using or by telling the audience some selection criteria upfront in the question, you're making sure that you get better, it's a quality driver, you make sure that you get better answers. So let the people know, okay, we need solutions, or we need ideas that can be implemented within the next, I don't know, within the next 3 months, for example. So this approach of having idea campaigns, they have a proven best practice approach across countries, cultures, industries to solve these business needs. And what we saw in the beginning, that most innovation efforts are ineffective and are unfocused, this campaign-driven approach remedies this. So we're seeing huge improvements within companies that use this approach the correct way. Okay, and of course you can use this for multiple purposes. It's not only about new ideas, it could be also to find best practices or identify risks and so on. The next step here would be, okay, now we maybe want to use these idea campaigns. Next step would be, okay, we really need to define the problem well, understand the problem in detail, and spend a lot of your time here. It's worth to dig deeper. It's worth to be that Indiana Jones. Before you can come up with a better question, you need to explore the problem precisely. So you will not only receive input of higher quality, but it will be achieved much more easily too. And when you reframe the question multiple times and look at it through different lenses and change perspectives, this is the climbing on the desk example, you do it at a higher, you can then come up with solutions at a higher speed, at a greater value, and with less noise, which basically means it prevents you to get too many ideas that do not matter, but that do use resources and create frustration. And there's a nice, I always have to think of a nice quote from Albert Einstein, and he says, well, the formulation of the problem is often more essential than its solution. And this is hitting the nail on its head in this case, and as a first step, a proper exploration of the challenge is the key to receive better answers. And there's some techniques and some technical examples, and especially this goes back to Stephen Shapiro, who came up with multiple lenses that you can lay your problem on and see how your problem then is getting reframed and reframed. It's just some techniques that you can see, okay, if I take another perspective on this, I see it another way, and I might be able to get better solutions. There's a third point here. After you created or have the problem reframed and reframed and reframed again, it's then about, okay, I'm done with this job, I've invested a lot of time here. It's then about coming up with a good question. And coming up with a good question means you somehow need a kind of structure. So write something with your readers in mind. Think about the target audience. Why should they, employees or customers or partners, suppliers, why should they be interested to help you? Why should they care, right? Remember the Kermit. Your readers want to feel like you are writing to them. It's very personalized. You're not a faceless team, and this is why you write these things, for example, in the first person. So something like, I am looking for ideas, and so on and so on. So share your thoughts and your stories, but as you share, think about how it applies to your reader. It needs to be personalized. It needs to be authentic. Give it a context. Give it a little bit of background, not all the background that we saw in the previous example, but enough background that everybody within your audience is clear about why this campaign is important to the organization and why is it important and why it's important now. And it also, this giving this context, it also channels the direction of the submissions and it gives you more quality. So this is where Chekhov then smiles and sets the course of your enterprise. Tell them what you want to have. Tell them what you're expecting from them. Put an emphasis on asking for help, for example. And don't forget, okay, it needs to be you. It needs to be somebody with a face. So put it to a way that the sponsor would usually communicate, and tell the people what is expected from them. So write little phrases, wording like, this is crucial, I'd like to help, helps here a lot. And the type of question also inspires different people, so keep that in mind when you, write these questions. And also let them know, okay, this is what we're going to measure you against on a high level. So what factors will most influence your decision making? What ideas might progress? Share some criteria. And do this before you ask your question. And then, of course, what are you not looking for? This could be also in here. If your budget only allows for $50,000 to take ideas to reality, a popular idea that will take 2 million is not a good fit. And set expectations about this and be transparent. Tell them, as a last point of the structure, will there be a single winning idea? Will you make decisions? When will you make them? What are the next steps to take? And this will set the right expectations here. Okay, I need to speed up a little. And the question is not all depending upon the structure, it's of course also the content. So be brief, not like me. Keep your questions short and to the point. And a quarter of an A4 page should be sufficient. Write these little phrases. This is crucial. I'd like to help. Be you. Don't be the faceless team. Be real and authentic. Don't try to sound so polished or like the professional services company example. Tell them something like, I'm stuck here. This could be some sponsor and this is typical for him. Be direct. Don't write something like, I was thinking about. Be direct. Just tell them. It's very active. I'm thinking about, for example. Use active verbs. Be specific. Do not ask them, how do we improve productivity, but maybe it's a better way to ask specifically, how do we make your jobs easier? Everybody can relate to this, and you're getting better content out of this. So if you're asking more specific questions, it increases the likelihood of getting a response by 50%. And also motivate. So get in touch with other experts could be a strong motivator for people to participate, and also to contribute. So people like to contribute to something, people like to matter, people like to make a difference. This is maybe one of the strongest motivators we see across all the different people there are. So this is one chance to make use of this knowledge too. I want to dive a little bit deeper into being specific, and this is about inspirations. Maybe you've heard of this. These ideas might not be new to the market, but rather a combination of trends or available consumer insights and new technologies, and they can supercharge your question. If you tell the people, okay, we have these trends here, and you're giving them a little bit direction of what you're looking for, and inspire them to participate with sharing some trends. This is giving them direction, and leads some people to participate, and it's also part of the product here. So it could supercharge your campaign question, and also, of course, your strategic innovation areas or ideas. So here's a small example from our partner Trend 1 of some micro trends that you can supercharge your idea question, campaign question with. So this is some trends of the transportation and mobility industry, for example. I skipped that slide because it's interesting, but it's we need to come to some questions. This is basically about the different motivators. And the next step after you came up with a great question is you need to test your question's quality. And of course there's no absolute correct way to ask a question, but there's certain ways to not ask a question, and we saw that from all the examples above. And when defining campaigns, right, they can't be too big, they can't be too broad or abstract, not even too small. They have to be suitable for your business need. And when do you know that you have a good question? When do you know that your question quality is just right? This question is often asked, and this is well, this is a tough question, but what we made a good experience with is time yourself on how fast people can think of a response. If it takes you time to think of a good answer, you should revise the question. So if it's more than a minute, go back and rewrite the question. It's not well put. If you get from your test group answers, maybe 5 answers each, it might be too abstract. If it's 0 or 1, it might be just right. So make sure you test your question up front if it's understood the right way before you use it. And last but not least, before we get to the questions, do a lessons learned. It's a very simple thing, I guess you all heard about, and it's very, very powerful when it comes to get better, because it's very, very easy. I skip this because this is common knowledge, I'd say, and it's also helpful besides the lessons learned, or what could be also part of the lessons learned, is that innovation teams keep a workbook of every campaign, listing the hard factors about participation and outcomes, or along with the soft factors, something like a written communication and word-of-mouth feedback from participants, so that people know, okay, what we did this time ended here, what worked well, what didn't work well, what can we improve in the future. A little summary, use the campaign approach. It's the best way to go after your business needs. Explore the challenge. This will be a second step. And be sure to devote a good chunk of time here, because this is where quality then comes from. Then of course you have to come up with a question. There's some structure and content tips you saw on the slides above, and test your question and conduct the lessons learned. And one thing I want to say in the end is don't expect to write great questions right out of the box. It's a skill, right? You can always pull in other people to help you out. There's also a comms department or a marketing department or other people maybe from outside that have these abilities. And if you need to come up with questions, if you need to prepare questions for your sponsors, it's a skill. You will get into this and you will grow the further you get. And it's not an easy task, and well, it needs to be learned. And I hope that you got something out of it, so that you can come up with better questions and better content now. But let's go to your questions now. Mitch, do you have any questions?
Certainly, yes. You can just pull up the question panel on your screen as well. It's maybe easier if I just
okay, great.
read them out to you.
Okay. All right. So what do you see here? Sometimes companies also open up their drop boxes to the outside world. I've seen that with Starbucks. They ask their customers for new product ideas. How successful is that? Yeah, it's a good question. And if I've been mean, and I'm mean for a minute, it depends what you're looking for. From our experience, these approaches sometimes result in a PR success, but they mostly have poor outcomes on the commercial level. I personally know of companies who shut down these kinds of drop boxes after some time because there was just not enough value here, and but it meant a lot of work to them. So, well, maybe this tells you something about how successful it was. And there are other companies that I know that I would say almost forgot they have this kind of Dropbox, this open suggestion Dropbox, because the input, if not heavily communicated and maintained, is just rather small. So it depends on which perspective are you looking on. Are you going after a PR success? Well, yeah, this could happen. This could work. But from our experience, it's usually not very successful on the commercial level, let's say. Okay. Let me pick another one. Oh, that's a good one here. Do I need to adapt my question to the audience? Yes, absolutely. It's quite helpful if the question is written in a style that the intended audience is likely to understand best, right? So imagine you put out a question on a technical issue to an audience with a very mixed skill set. What you get is probably, or what you probably need is to explain more what all this is about and offer more background information to everybody. But yeah, like I said, write with your readers in mind. Why and how should they help you? And remember, this preparation phase costs comparatively little. As soon as you have placed your question, it requires more effort to correct the course. Imagine Enterprise at full speed, and Kirk then screams at Chekhov, maybe, now we need to reset the course. Well, probably Enterprise goes on for some miles before course correction is effective. Okay, see some more questions, and I think we need to come back to you because time is running up. We need to come back to you, but Mitch, I think, yeah, we're coming back to you on these questions and answer all the questions that I see in here. But yeah, thank you for listening. Time's running up, and have a great evening.